Hey there, quilter. What if you were never meant to be a project? What if growth was always meant to be part of being alive? I've been sitting with this final thought as we close this chapter in the Enough series. Welcome back to Loose Threads and Stitches, my friends. This is the final episode of the Enough chapter, our limited series exploring growth, identity, and the quiet hum of more in modern life. Over the past 9 weeks, today is the 10th week. How crazy is that, right? We have talked about moving targets. We have talked about wiring. We've talked about capacity. We've talked about the stories that we build and tell ourselves. We've talked about labels. We've talked about play and about curating attention, about fit. Today, we're not going to add anything new. I simply want to bring it all together. So if you have been listening through this entire series, thank you. I have loved deeply digging into this with you. And if something here has studied you and really made an impact on you, sharing it with somebody who might need that steadiness is always appreciated. Okay, let's close this chapter. When I started this Enough chapter, I noticed something, okay? The air around us in the world often suggests that we could be more. We could be optimized. We could be organized. We could be more productive, more disciplined, more improved. And that atmosphere we talked about, it isn't inherently malicious, okay? It's part of living in a fast-moving time. And I mentioned this in the first few episodes, but I want to tell you that like my background is not in psychology and stuff like that, though I really do love it. My background is in marketing. And so I do see the world in that lens, so to speak, okay? In the very beginning episodes, we talked about if you are complacent and where you are and you're just fine, you're not going to buy anything. You are not going to be wishing for something more. You're not going to be spending all the money if you have everything that you want and desire, right? So marketing has its place. We are in that fast moving time, especially in the Amazon world where like I can order it and literally like 2 hours from now, it can be sitting on my doorstep already opened and me digging into whatever it is, okay? But over time, constant improvement language can subtly shape your identity. We begin to feel like drafts, okay, like unfinished versions of ourselves, constantly being a project in progress that never quite reaches completion. And growth is beautiful. Learning is beautiful. Refinement is beautiful. And I love that in the quilting world because I know for a fact that I have found a hobby that one, brings me joy, two, will never bore me. It's going to teach me a lot of lessons, but I will never know everything in it. There is always going to be somebody to learn from. There is always going to be somebody that pushes those boundaries and inspires me, okay? But growth in that way, it doesn't require shame as fuel. You were never a defective draft to begin with, okay? You are always a living person in motion. And there's a difference in that, okay? When we talked about moving targets, we noticed how benchmarks shift, right? You get to that level and you're like, cool, this is great, but now I need to go here, right? Just up a little bit at a time, okay? We talked about wiring. We understood why we lean forward, why as human beings we want to improve and we want to do things better the next time around. We talked about capacity. We recognized that overlooked isn't character, okay? We talked about stories. We saw how explanation shapes identity, and the stories that we tell ourselves curate and create the narrative that we live, even if those stories aren't true. All right. We talked about labels. We left room for expansion. We talked about play. We reclaimed some joy that was long overdue. We talked about curated attention. We protected bandwidth and why that's so important. We talked about fit. We allowed redesign instead of self-criticism. All of that leads here to today. You, my friend, were never the project. You were always and will always be the maker. I have always wanted this space, this podcast, my YouTube channel, the events that I host and the people that I talk with. I've always wanted this space to feel like a calm corner of the world. Okay, somewhere that creativity can exist without tension. And that's still true here. I keep that as the very middle of everything that I try and create, okay? This conversation was never about reacting to the world. It's never been about shunning the negativity and trying to shelter yourself from everything out there, okay?
Maybe you are.
Because I do believe the world needs some more beautiful things than that. I say that all the time. And I think as an artist, it's a responsibility of yours to create more beautiful things in the world, right? Because it needs beautiful things. It needs things to make people smile, right? This whole thing has been about caring for your own bandwidth inside of this world. It's about understanding the context so that you can move through your creative life with more steadiness, not more urgency. Handmade things are valued not because they are perfect, but because they carry the mark of a human. Slight irregularities, texture, evidence of process, evidence of learning. We don't look at a handmade quilt and think,
I like that unit.
what did this quilter do? Why didn't she go back and unpick that seam, right? We don't think it should have been flawless. She should have redid this until it was perfect. We look at a quilt and we think, this is real. And you can't replicate stuff like this in the big box stores, in the mass produced items of the world, right? And maybe that applies to us too, okay? Process doesn't imply a defect. It implies life. Life is messy, right? It is. It's part of who we are, all right? Messiness is learning. It's moving on. It's moving forward. And if you take one thing from this enough chapter studies that we've been doing, I want you to let it be this thing right here. Okay. Growth can be curious instead of critical. Improvement can be joyful instead of urgent. Evolution can be steady instead of frantic. And enough can be chosen without being achieved. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to improve, but you are also allowed to decide when you feel finished. This is the last episode that I will do on the enough chapter. But this conversation continues, and the ideas that we have broached in this conversation, I want them to continue. And this is a space that remains what it has always been. And it is a place to make, a place to breathe, a place to create without performance. So let's not let it end with this episode. You can always come back and re-listen to these episodes whenever you need them. They are here for you. So thank you for sitting here with me. I love you so much. I appreciate everything that you do and that you go through to continue to create beautiful things in this world. And thank you for listening to the Enough chapter. Next week, we are going to start on something completely new. It's going to be great. And there's more things to discuss on this podcast. So please make sure you're following this podcast. You can either follow me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you can follow this podcast on YouTube, as well as my YouTube channel. I post videos there just about every week. I really try and do it every single week. There have been a few times that I've missed this year because of other stuff that's been going on, but I post updates there, and I would love, love, love to hear from you more and for you to just follow me and see what we're doing in this world. So thank you so much. You have been listening to the Loose Threads and Stitches podcast. I am your host and creative quilter, Kristen, with ISeeStarsQuilting. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Go out, create some beautiful things to see in the world. I love you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.